Great. So we will move on here, and we've got Miriam Jones, a director of business development at Expedia Group Media Solutions, where she's responsible for driving business development in EMEA and India. Along with her team, Myriam oversees client business and partnerships for travel brands and non-travel brands, and provides strategic guidance to help them reach audiences across the vast network of Expedia Group travel brands and global sites. So over to you, Myriam.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, Stefan, for the introduction, and again, good morning to everyone listening in today. I'm delighted, and I have to say, really energized to be here and talking to you. So I am Miriam Younes from Expedia Group Media Solutions, and a bit of background: we are the advertising business of Expedia Group, and help connect marketers with hundreds of millions of travelers across the Expedia Group brands. I have a very short amount of time today, and even lost a couple of minutes because of sound issues. So I'm going to take you through quickly three trends from our first and third-party data that are helping our partners understand demand from travelers and tap into it. Next slide, please. What's exciting and not surprising, I'm sure, to everyone in this virtual room, is that global travel demand is rising as consumer confidence grows. Throughout the year, what we have seen is that consumer confidence is growing globally, with obviously new legislation and vaccine approvals driving both searches and bookings up. Next slide. Despite a slowdown in demand across many regions during the summer holiday season in July and August, the spike in demand we saw during September means that search volumes remain positive quarter over quarter. So what we can see here is that the week-on-week search demand broken by super region, you can clearly see the flatter summer performance followed by that surge towards the end of the quarter. So that is a reminder of how crucial it is to time your campaign correctly when the demand is highest. Next slide. Now, when we look at global searches, broken down here by international and domestic, we see some positive signs for global travel. Week-on-week international search growth outpaced that for domestic travel for the majority of Q3. That is the first time we have seen this since the start of the pandemic. So after a year during which domestic travel dominated the recovery from the pandemic, we were thrilled to see the emergence of international destinations across EMEA, LATAM, and APAC as well. Next slide. The second trend I want to explore is around search windows. So when COVID started, one trend that we saw in the industry was that search windows were very short. People were searching for immediate travel and not necessarily planning future trips because so much was unknown. But more recently, we have started to see that search windows are lengthening. They are still shorter than pre-COVID times, but we are seeing a lot of growth in searches and bookings for future travel, which is very encouraging. Next slide, please. We can see in this chart that half of global searches fell within the 0 to 21 day search window. However, the global search window is lengthening, indicating that traveler confidence is rising, and they are taking advantage of summer travel and started to plan trips further out. Global searches made 22 to 90 days in advance of travel dates accounted for more than 35% of searches in Q2. That's up nearly 25% quarter over quarter. Next slide. Now, interestingly, when we combine this data and compare search windows for domestic and international travel at a global level, we see that this trend for shorter-term planning is driven largely by domestic considerations. However, when it comes to international searches, we are seeing a stretching out of search windows across all regions. So what this is telling us is that travel shoppers are starting to plan their big international trips, the ones they have had on their list for nearly 2 years now and are hovering over that booking button. For our marketing partners, of course, this kind of data is crucial to understand exactly when your target audience is looking to book and tailoring your campaign activity accordingly. Next, please. Now, as well as first-party data, as I mentioned at the beginning, we also commissioned third-party sentiment studies to help us understand our travelers, which is important now more than ever. I think everyone in this room would agree that the worldwide pause in travel made us realize how important it is to connect to each other, connect with our communities, and connect with other cultures as well. Travel is truly a force for good because it teaches us so much about ourselves and the world. And travel, of course, expands our views and deepens understanding between people and places. Now, sustainability is a very important topic. It's a great example of a topic that is increasingly important to travelers, helping them to find meaning, really. Travel will undoubtedly play a central role in the conversation in the coming years, and if done sustainably, travel can connect us culturally, emotionally, and physically. It opens our eyes, minds, hearts, all while providing positive economic impacts and working to lower environmental effects. And travelers are taking note. Recent research that we did at Expedia Group reveals that nearly 60% are willing to spend more to make their trip more sustainable. Next slide, please. And what we're seeing is this interest in sustainable travel, I'm sure won't surprise you, it is highest with younger generations, which are more likely than older generations to consider sustainable travel options. In the lead up to Earth Day this year, an Expedia Group survey revealed that nearly half of respondents said that they choose eco-friendly travel options. Mainly Generation Z or Generation Z and millennials, respectively as 67% and 64%, are much more likely than Gen X and boomers to consider sustainable travel options. Next slide. And we believe that this journey is not one to go alone. So that is why Expedia Group joined forces with Unesco 3 years ago in a first of its kind collaboration to support sustainable travel initiatives across the industry. We signed a global agreement in 2019 promoting sustainable travel and heritage conservation through the Unesco Sustainable Travel Pledge and launched a pilot phase with the Tourism Authority of Thailand. The UNESCO Sustainable Travel Pledge adds accountability to the travel industry, requiring participating businesses to share existing work supporting sustainable tourism and heritage conservation, providing quantifiable information on their initiatives so it can actually be measured. Our partnership with UNESCO is inclusive of all operators, which helps level the playing field for smaller actors. Through the pledge, we're able to reach more community members while prioritizing equity and accessibility. So we know we can do more when we partner with organizations, governments, and communities to organically create initiatives that really make a difference in day-to-day life. And we are in the process of expanding this program globally with commitments shared in a publicly accessible database. And we have recently welcomed organizations including Active France, EU Ecolabel, the Island of Formentera, Visit Scotland, and Iberostar. And finally, if you remember 3 things from my very short talk today, one is travel will continue to fluctuate, but overall is trending upward globally. 2, travelers are planning further out, but search windows remain short, so make sure you know when your target audience is searching for your destination. And 3, travelers want to see your inclusion in diversity and sustainability efforts. So thank you very much for your time. You can follow this link or scan this QR code to access our latest trend report so you can see more of the data I shared. Otherwise, stay tuned for our next version.